Right. Hi there, namaste. I'm Katrina.
Hi, I'm Jen.
And today we are bringing you the chakra, the sixth chakra, the third eye. It's all about the Ajna. So this is going to be an interesting trip, and we've moved away from talking about the more body chakras, and we're heading towards enlightenment.
Indeed, for
Yeah.
sure.
So you will have the slides. Some of you will have the slides. So we've got 7 chakras. You've got the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, the Manipura, the Anahata, the Vishuddha, Ajna, and Sahasrara. So at the moment, we're going to be focusing on the third eye. So, and Jen normally wears her third eye. So when she's doing the third eye, she's not wearing it. Ooh.
Oh my God, I forgot it today. Thanks for reminding me.
That's so weird. That's the one
Let's
time that
pull
you.
out.
It's okay. It's okay. This list.
Today's color is indigo, so Katrina will get to that in a minute. It's like a bluish color.
So yeah, it's kind of like in keeping with your bedding there a little bit. There we go. There, she's got it on. Indigo it is. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready.
Now you're ready. No wonder you weren't quite in that headspace.
I know. It's all clear now. Like,
You can see, huh?
Power on.
Power on. Switch it on. Yes. Right. So where is the Ajna? It's located where the third eye is. It's right between the space between the eyebrows. It's in the brain, directly behind the eyebrow center, and at the very top of the spinal cord. The concentration is always between the eyebrows. So when your yoga teacher says to you, bring your attention to the space between the eyebrows, it's about getting the attention to the Ajna. So what does it do? Well, it's all about the mind. It is the chakra of the mind. It represents higher levels of awareness. So it's all about going up there rather than into your body. It's more of a conceptual experience. It's more relating to emotions and concepts rather than physical body. It's more about how you feel in your head and above, and not your ego mind, but beyond that. We'll get to that later. All right, so it's connected to dreams and our inner visions that occurs through our Ajna, and in developing the Ajna you have the knowledge without air of senses. So like, you know, it's kind of like sixth sense, intuition. You have a feeling something is going to happen and you get this intuition. That's what the Ajna does, and that's when you know that it's working well, is that when you're able to be clairvoyant or have those feelings that you know that something is happening or something's not happening, maybe you should avoid a certain road, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. I think we've all had that feeling at some point in our life, whether it was like a feeling or a dream. A lot of times people will recall back into their childhood when they felt, that they, some kids have imaginary friends. And to that child, they're not imaginary, I think up until a certain age, probably about like age 8 or 9, children, their third eye chakras are completely open. They're very vulnerable. They're very perceptive to everything around them. And it's not until, they start to get older that adults or society, culturally, depending on, what kind of culture you're in, starts to suppress, these intuitive abilities that children have.
yeah.
And so as adults, we'll still have these occurrences, and people who have more of an unblocked or open third eye chakra will experience more. Some people are like, oh, this is like deja vu, or
Yeah.
I feel like I knew that was going to happen, those kinds of instances. And this is where those things occur, that knowledge occurs, that elevated level of perception.
It is an elevated level of perception, definitely. And I read somewhere not that long ago that when a child becomes 8 or 9, like you were saying, they actually start going into the ego mind. So their ego mind develops. So therefore it's their conscious mind develops. So my understanding is that the Ajna is very, very much connected to the subconscious mind. And that part of your mind is that is the part that takes in all information. So say, for instance, you turn the door handle, you pay no attention to that door handle that you've turned on a regular basis, going to the office or whatever, but your subconscious mind picks that up and it knows the difference between one day turning that handle to the next day. You know, there's subtle differences, and all of that is stored in our subconscious mind. And I think that this is what the Ajna is able to do. It's able to get that connection to our, some people would call our higher being, because our subconscious mind is connected to all the cells and information that we store in our body. And with that, how we relate to the world, if we are much more intuitive and if we are much more in tune with ourselves, then our Ajna works, which is also able to connect with our inner universe, which then connects to the outer universe. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so what I understand is that we have the greater universe outside, and what we are built with, our building blocks, are connected to that, and therefore it's the Ajna is kind of like that portal, that's that connection that brings us from here to connect to out there. And if we are in tune and in alignment, the connection is easier, and therefore if our chakras are clear, the connection is easier. And looking at this from the perspective of narcissism, narcissistic abuse, for instance, I suppose it's a protective way. It's something that we can use. If it's unblocked, we can protect ourselves from bad vibes, from bad characters, from characters that are going to pull us down. So that, I think, is probably where a strong Ajna would come into place. You would probably, you know, notice a mile away, right, staying away from him or her, you know, and yeah, so that's.
This is absolutely true. And I'll just give you an example of how easy it is to suppress this information, to suppress this ability to be in tune with yourself and what's going on around you. So my husband calls it that I have a bad habit of picking up strays. And not as in animals. He's talking about people.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So I'm very empathetic. Okay. And in all of my jobs that I've ever had, I've had an issue with this, but my job that I had at our last place where we were living, I dealt with people one-to-one at a very vulnerable time or transition in their lives. And it was interesting because as soon as they would walk in the door, it would hit me. Like I'd be like, oh, you know, they're having a hard time. And all, you know, I always knew I could ask, like, but how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And the waterworks would happen. There were times like during this transition period, people moving around, things like that, they're at a new place. My soft spot is always like young single women, right? Because they're vulnerable, they're in a new space, they don't know the best places to live, they don't know the best places to go, to shop, where to be. And so they're very vulnerable, they're very stressed. And my husband would say, you know, as soon as they walk in the door, if they're good vibes for you or not. But for some reason, you override that information and you let them suck off of you, suck your energy until you're dry and they got what they needed from you and they're gone. And I said, yes, you know, but sometimes I can be that person that they need. We're not going to be forever friends.
That's true. Yeah.
I can be that person that can be there for them during this period in time until they find another source of comfort or, you know, a friendship or a connection where they don't need me anymore. But he always says, you know, right away, but you always give way too much of yourself. It makes you sick. You know, your energy level gets low. You usually fall sick with like a cold or a rash or something like that. He's like, you have to be so careful. And I'm like, I know, but that's just the part of me that feels like I need to be there. I need to give that just a part of myself, but I always end up giving everything. So he tells me, he's like, now you have to be very selective. Be selective, and it's okay. You're at a point in your life and an age where you can say, this person is not right for me. And so I am starting to listen to my third eye chakra more, instead of just saying, yes, I know, but here, take my arm. Like,
yeah, exactly. Take everything you want.
take anything you need, you know, I'll get some more or whatever. So
Because
this is where that comes in.
yeah, we're not a complete full vessel all the time. We need to replenish our own energies after, you know, giving off so much to help other people. So yeah, I think, you know, the third eye definitely works very well if you're a very empathetic person. You definitely can like zoom in and pick up, you know, victims that need help, and you're very drawn to that. I know that I feel that too, and that's probably why that I end up drained so much, and we end up having a lot of illnesses as a, you know, circumstance to that. So it's you got to look after yourself, and this is what part of healing the Ajna can do. It can make you stronger that way, to have a willpower and to be able to choose and choose someone who you feel that you can definitely genuinely help, and also guarding yourself, guarding your own energies. That's really, really important. Yeah.
Exactly. And those people that are very needy will find you. They're attracted to you.
Yeah.
Immediately, because they'd always say, I feel so much better when I'm with you. Like, every time you hug me, it's like electric. Like, I just feel so good. I feel so much better, you know? And on my end, I'm like,
oh, I'm drained.
I'm dying.
Yeah, I need to go and hug more trees now.
So it's like,
keep charging up.
yeah, be that helpful person, be open, but at the same time, have boundaries. This is where the other chakras
exactly
in line, is having boundaries.
Exactly. So this is all connected, because we feel with our heart, and then we speak with our throat, and then the third eye is how we see and how we want to help people, and we have to make sure that all these other ones are clear, so that when our intentions, when they do come up, and then when they do reflect over here, the choices that we make are in alignment with what we are, and so that we can be a better service to the people who genuinely need our help, and don't, you know, suck us dry. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being sucked dry, but as long as there's some people that want your help but won't do anything for themselves. Now, this is the issue I have, you know, and it's like pulling, and these are the people that we need to try, and not to say avoid, but like show them that there's a way, but then say, all right, that's it,
move on.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had quite a few people, not from this group necessarily, but from other groups, other narcissistic abuse supportive groups, that have drained me, asking me for my help, but I don't mind helping, but you know, they need to do something for themselves, because at the end of the day, you know, you can't, you know, make that horse drink. I'm not saying that they're horses, but you know, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, and they have to be able to take that drink themselves and be willing to make sacrifices and change, you know. So if you can only go so far, that's all you can do, and any further, you're putting yourself in a problematic situation. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, you're so right.
We were worried about the chakra, because we were saying earlier on that how it's all conceptual, and a lot of it is conceptual, and how do we relate this chakra to people, and you know, especially if you're coming from a secular society, or you're coming from a place where you're non-religious, following any faith or anything. We're not coming from a place of following any faith particular, but we're trying to interpret the information as we understand it to be, based on our studies in India. So we're, you know, not changing it, but we're making it adaptable, so that the Western market and people who don't follow any faith will understand. And it's all about energies. At the end of the day, we are energies, we are vibrations. So it's about the vibrations that run from the root chakra all the way up to the third eye. So now we're trying to explain what this chakra does in a way that makes sense to you all. So so far I think we're doing all right.
We're doing good. I was worried because I'm like, man, it's some of this stuff is just kind of out there, you
Yeah.
know? So trying to like bring it back in, and then these things are coming to me like, oh yeah, this
Yeah, because it's
how I relate every day. So
exactly. Yeah, there's so much that it connects to. So what does the ajna correspond to? The descriptive word we've got is I perceive, I see. So you're seeing, you've got this intuition, you're seeing. And it's about psychic energy, psychic force. Intuition is a sense. Now, food is fasting. That means lack of food, no food. And in some cultures, it's hallucinogenic plants, which are now considered as some poisons, maybe mushrooms.
we're not saying go and take mushrooms.
Take mushrooms. But what was the name of that? Do you remember?
Ayahuasca.
That you took it. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca. Yeah. So there is, there are some places that you can go to for healing, and there are people there that can help you. And going through the ayahuasca, I'm not actually sure what that is, but I've heard some people saying it is an experience. But you want to be doing it professionally, and the people that run ayahuasca ceremonies and things like that you can go and look for information online, perhaps, and that will probably help you open up the third eye, and perhaps you will be seeing things. But don't forget, a lot of the stuff that we do see is not from outside, but more connected to what's going on inside of us. So it's all down again to the subconscious mind and what your subconscious mind is telling you about yourself. So a lot of the stuff that we fear is what has been instilled within us as we've been growing up. A lot of the nightmares that we develop, again, are from us. So the fear, the worry and stuff, it all actually comes from within us. So if you do end up going on a trip and you think, oh my God, I'm seeing snakes, or oh my God, I'm seeing things, it's like, actually, it's probably from within you, so
Embedded fear. And with the ayahuasca, I'm just saying, if anyone has ever thought of doing this or wants to research it, please do thorough research. And if you do find a place, and make sure there are medical personnel on staff, like licensed nurses, maybe even a doctor, disclose all medication that you are taking, because that can interact with the plant medicine and have very adverse reactions. I've never done ayahuasca before, but I know a lot of people who have, and just from talking to them, they're, even though they say it's natural, there are lots of dangers associated with it, depending on your own personal circumstances. In addition to that, people will say, they use these hallucinogens to open their third eye. When you use plants, hallucinogens, even marijuana, this only opens it temporarily during that time that the medicine is active in your body. When it wears off, that part wears off, closes up again. So it's just a very small glimpse into the power that is, your mind, your subconscious, all these wonderful things. The permanent way to do this is through unblocking the chakras, consistent practice, practicing the 8 limbs of yoga, practicing ahimsa, which is nonviolence, practicing, being a good person, developing your own sadhana, which is like your daily routine, your daily healthy practice. This is what's going to keep your third eye chakra open. These other ways, they're very temporary. Although I've heard they're, they've done wonders for people, just giving them a glimpse, and it motivates them to go forward, but it's not a permanent solution. The permanent solution is the work in yourself.
You do yourself. And in fact, to get a glimpse, I suppose, is motivational. So like if you had an experience and you got a glimpse and you think, I want to carry on seeing that, don't carry on taking the substances, because that in the end is also going to numb you, because if you're taking it too much, then that's going to cause other problems. So you don't want other problems to develop. You start to become addicted maybe to some of these things, because you keep on wanting to have the experience. So these things have their time and place. So I would suggest it's not something you want to be doing on a regular basis, maybe once every few years or something like that even, So it's I'm not saying don't, but I think at the same time you want to be very, very careful about what you try and when you try it, and also what other things are going on in your life at the time when you try it, because those things can have an effect on it too, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And then with fasting, I know if anyone's interested in learning about fasting, Ed, Katrina's partner, can talk a lot about this. Katrina and myself have done some intermittent fasting
Yeah.
through our yoga practice.
Yeah.
It can be effective, but it may not be particularly safe for you, depending on your situation medically. So find someone that's qualified, discuss on that, do it safe for you.
You need to also actually talk to a nutritionist, someone who knows your profile on what you're eating and what medical issues you have, because you can't just simply think, right, I'm going to fast, because you have to consider, like if you're diabetic, for instance, the blood sugar and things like that, insulin levels, and if you're taking medications that need food, obviously you can't be fasting. So, but there are other ways around it. You don't necessarily have to fast. Maybe you could do like having juices or smoothies or something, but opting out from having solid foods or something like that, you know. But you have to make sure that you are in a healthy space. In terms of also accessing the third eye, I find the gazing, the meditation that we do for gazing, which I think is very powerful meditation, and it's a very simple meditation. And maybe one of these days I will we can lead a session online, perhaps in one of our groups, and we can talk about that. So it's basically having an object, putting it in front of you and gazing at it. It's as simple as that. Just like
a plug, but usually you'd have like a rock or some sort of sacred item. You can set up a candle, like a tea light candle, on a table that's eye level and focus. You will cry.
Yeah, it's cleansing, it's detoxing the eyes, and
the idea of not to blink, even though you want to try to keep your eyes open, and then it cleanses the eyes, but it also cleanses the emotions too, because once the tears start coming,
you can't stop them. We did a really interesting one where we had to stare at a classmate, half the size of a classmate.
That was by far the most like powerful meditation I've ever done, because this was early in our course, and so we didn't know each other very well. So it was difficult to stare into the eye of a complete stranger and just shed your skin and be completely vulnerable.
Totally, because you've got that ego, and that ego part of you wants to like maintain your sitting position,
your wall,
and not show anything, and then you've just got to let go of that. My gosh, it's so powerful. So
it was a ride. It was a ride.
I mean, if you want to really jump in the deep end, that's one to do. If you want to take it easy, I mean, I spent a long time when I was having my skin problems in India staring into my own face in the mirror, because I was advised by one of the guys, I can't remember his name, but they were brothers, and they came to visit when you were leaving. One of the brothers said to me, "Have you tried putting yogurt, dahi with turmeric on your body?" And actually it helped for a while. So every night for about 20 minutes, I was in the bathroom, had like turmeric covered yogurt all over my body, all over my rashes. And what else could I do there but stand and stare at myself in the mirror? So I ended up doing that meditation, and that was weird.
Yeah, well, because you were literally, you had no skin. You were completely vulnerable. If, like, those of you out there, Katrina experienced true suffering when we were in India, like during lockdown. She broke out in a full body rash that she would, pull up her pant leg and she had no skin left. It was horrible for her. She suffered. Nothing seemed to work, or things would work only temporarily.
Exactly. It was horrible. And then after you left, it got worse. It got to the worst part where I was actually in the toilet digging things out after having an enema. It wouldn't come out for 5 days. Nothing came out. And I thought to myself, I feel like my organs are packing up, because you saw my skin, but my torso, my whole body was inflamed. It came out and my breasts was so red. They were like bright red. And Ed said to me, I've never seen you this ill. I thought I was going to die. I seriously did. And I said to Ankit, like take me to the doctors, take me. I can't cope. It was absolutely horrible. And thankfully I had some medication. I did need allopathic medication for that, because I needed high steroids and straight to the point. Then it reduced massively reduced. And then that was a nightmare. But I do believe it was down to detoxing, and I think I was detoxing a hell of a lot, because my eczema now is nothing. And I would normally suffer with eczema being in the UK, because it's cold and it's dry. And I would suffer with eczema normally, and my skin is absolutely fine. I feel good, my face is fine, and you know, a little bit of itch from time to time, but nothing like what I was going through in India. That was never experienced that before in my life.
It was particularly odd, like, oh, and you tried everything. God bless your heart, you tried everything.
Absolutely. I spent most of the nights being attacked by crickets at 47 degrees because after you left, it got hotter and the crickets kept on coming into the room. And, you know, here's me with the yogurt on my body. And I had to have a cold shower halfway through the night, about 1 a.m. I'd rinse myself with a cold shower, half asleep, having to have a cold shower. But that's the stuff that you have to go through. And I think going through something as deep and as traumatic as that, and if you come through the other end, it changes something about you. And like, I don't feel like I'm the same person. Maybe on some level, my Ajna has opened up in a way that it hasn't before. So, you know, it's, I'm extremely grateful for the experience, even though it was horrible, but just grateful that I'm out of it.
Yes.
It was awful. So coming back to what we were talking about, what does the Ajna correspond to? We've talked about light as well, being able to see a light, and the color is indigo, as Jen has beautifully shown us with her bindi. And the celestial body is Jupiter, and the creature and animal is an owl or a unicorn. I know unicorns aren't really real, but you know, it's the whole thing about them having that, you know, horn there. And physical problems are eye problems, headaches, migraines as well, maybe. Nightmares. When I was a child, I had a lot of nightmares. Sinusitis. I used to have a lot of sinusitis problems. Since I've been doing the neti, the jala neti with the what do you call that thing? The
rubber neti, yeah.
Rubber thing, yeah. And it's like going for a COVID test, but it's worse because you have to stick it up your nose and it comes out. I've actually got a YouTube clip showing a YouTube video showing you how to do that. So yeah, sinusitis used to be a problem for me, but not anymore. Not since I've been doing jala neti and also being in India. Since coming out of India, I don't suffer sinus problems anymore. I'm very, very grateful. I was addicted to the sinus spray, not anymore. And that went on for like 20 odd years. You know, most of my life I had to use a spray, and I don't anymore. What I do have is some of those horrible black salts. The black salts in some hot water, and if I do get a little bit blocked up, I just kind of do a bit of a rinse, and then that sorts me out, and it's absolutely fine. But
that black salt will cure a number of ailments.
I've got a few sachets left, so you know, it's been really, really helpful. Jen likes to call them shit salts
because they smell like.
Yeah, I know, not the nicest of smells, but hey, good experience. Emotionally, so when the Ajna is open, it makes you feel clear and calm, and you don't have that confusion that you used to have. And I must admit, since coming back from India, with this pandemic going on, you would think that I'm very, very confused, but I'm actually very, very grounded. As the world around me is unsettled and scared and not knowing what's going to happen, I'm actually surprisingly quite grounded. I just seem to laugh a lot about a lot of stuff, so yeah, why not?
It's interesting that you say that. And of course the mental state below it says self-responsibility. And so when we're thinking of the third eye chakra, think of yourself in the middle of a big circle of the world happening around you,
So,
and you're in the middle, instead of you being caught up in the washing machine
yeah,
of
exactly.
the world around you. You're in the middle, you're that center.
And the world is
And
around you.
yeah, it's up to you. And with the third eye, when you're unblocked, you can see clearly. Even without seeing, you can see and perceive what is happening around you, and how you have a choice of how you respond to that. So you can be the calm in your life. You can be the centered in your life. You can disregard the confusion. You can even be the calm in other people's lives too, when you're so grounded in yourself, and you can see, I can see the chaos happening. I acknowledge it's happening, but I don't need to be a part of it.
It's that decision. It's about making that decision. If you just suddenly decide, I'm going to be calm despite what else is going on, it will happen. You just have to stand your ground and tell yourself you're going to be calm. And, your body and your mind will be in alignment with that, because you can't say, I'm going to be calm, stand your ground, and still be hectic in your mind. It just doesn't work, So,
Yeah. And it's not that passive mindset where it's like, oh, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It's not that passive mindset. It's an active mindset of saying, I am doing something about it. This is what I'm doing. I'm staying calm. And even sometimes doing nothing is something, because it is a decision and it does result in a consequence.
yeah. So you've
So
got a choice. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So you've got a choice. You can either be worried about something and not solve it, or be calm about it, maybe not solve it, but at least you're staying calm, which is actually a better place to be than to be worried about it and not solve it. So nothing
right.
can really be solved by being overly anxious about something. You've got to find that calmness, because usually answers come to you when you're calm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
That
So
was beautiful.
so what happens when the ajna is unbalanced? So it's like the sense of being out of your body, so or out of touch of your body. Now, when I was a child growing up, I often said to my mum, I don't feel like I'm here. It's like I feel like as if I'm out of this world. And I used to always say that to her. And I don't know what was going on in my mind or in my body. I know that my throat chakra as a child was very, very stuck. So it's obviously connected. And that sense of like disconnectivity to other things around me, families would have conversations and I would just sit there going like, is that table real? That chair real? I don't feel, are you real? It's like, I just didn't feel like as if I was there. It's like there was a disconnection between the universe that I was in to the universe that everyone else around me was in, So it was, if you've experienced something like that could be because your ajna is blocked.
Yeah. And even like in a more of like, I feel like I don't belong. I feel like I don't belong here. I feel like I'm not welcome here. That can be another feeling of you're feeling out of it or out of touch with your body, or you're having that altered state, of awareness that's not actually, not a higher level of awareness, but a low, the lower levels.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't belong. I don't,
Yeah.
something is not right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that confusion of what is real and what appears to be real. It's your interpretation of it even. And what happens is that it hides it means that you're always hiding in intellectual analysis. So you're always kind of like going over, talking your way around a situation, or discussing it. And I used to do this with my brother. We'd always philosophize about a lot of things and talk our way around it, and we never come to any form of conclusions, just go in circles. Yeah. And also that inability to stay focused on one thing. So you're kind of like, one thing interests you, then you go into that, but it's kind of a little bit ADHD, I suppose, in that sense. And yeah, and psychic disturbance as well. So I think all of us, if we tune in deep and if we were all unblocked, I think we'd be like oh, what was the name? You know that movie Avatar, right? We'd all be like the Avatar, you know, holding hands around a tree and connecting with the universe. You know, if we were all unblocked as humans, we probably all have that ability to connect in that sort of deep way, which is very, very powerful and amazing. But because that we don't, therefore we're cutting off our connectivity to the greater universe, and therefore that's also going to cause psychic disturbance. And I think we could all probably be psychic, and that's why there's some people who are psychic and most of us who aren't psychic, because, you know, we all have that inability, but we're just not tuned in. And I think that's the difference. What would you say?
I do. Everyone has that capacity, and we all experience it at different levels. So, like I said before, you know, if you've ever had a dream or feel deja vu, or you feel like, I feel like I've already done this.
Yeah.
Those are, you know, psychic things that are happening. And then, of course, there are people that, you know, really can embrace that gift and use it to help other people, or they may be able to see into other realms, or they may be able to hear, like clairaudience. It all depends on a person, their experiences, and how open they are. But I think everyone at some point has had some sort of moment, you know, and that's just like a little window into what our bigger capacities are within our subconscious and our mind.
Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. So what happens when the Ajna is healthy? I've got the Ajnais. What the heck is Ajnais? Ajnas are healthy.
Oh, yeah. You went a little saucy on that one.
Yeah, I'm changing it now. So what happens when they're clear and healthy? You're comfortable with your reality, even though if your reality doesn't connect with other people's reality. And this is often the case when you are more spiritually aware and you have kind of like elevated a little bit, you know. You start to see your own space, and you start to see where other people's spaces are, and you can tell the difference. And the way that society wants us all to be is probably not something that's going to tune in well with you. So it's that ability to recognize that and being comfortable with that. It's again conceptual, isn't it? It's a concept to try and, you know.
Yeah, it's like that non-conformity. I'm not saying this in like a super rebellious way. I'm saying this in like more of a spiritual way. You know, if you've ever had people say, you know, oh, she's a little different, or my husband calls me his little bird.
Oh,
you know, he's like, when my little bird in her cage gets like nervous, I just need to let her fly. She needs to go and do something, you know, and be free. And so if you're one of those people that get referred to as like, oh, she's a little different, or, you know, this is you adapting and being in a different mindset, you know. And we use the word reality, and reality is relative. But I think it has to do with our mindset, the way we think, the way we operate, and just accepting that part of yourself instead of saying, you know, people be like, oh, she's so weird. Be like, really? You got to use the word weird? Like, do we need to, you know, it's just, you're putting someone, or, you know, feel like you're being put in a box, but now it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm weird.
Own it. It's a great thing to be weird. I don't like being normal. Yeah. So so it's you get a clear perception as well of what is real to you, and also the surroundings and what's being said on the news. And a lot of the stuff that we've been told on the news is very confusing, especially if you've been reading up on things and you've got your own ideas developing. So it's being able to be clear and to what to take on, and what you feel that is not right for you. So it's about knowing where your boundaries are, and as we work through the chakras, you become more clear about your own boundaries. And I think I must have done a heck of a lot of detoxing, because you know, my boundaries are very, very clear now, and I know what I'll take on and I know what I won't. And you know, I simply now just speak with respect and love to other people, but I just know that there's a lot of things I just won't take on. I just simply won't, because it's not going to be of service to other people, and because if it's not of service to me, it's not going to be helpful to other people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've got psychic abilities there. So obviously you'll be turned on to the psychic abilities if your ajnas are clear, and especially clairvoyance. So that's like being able to tell what's going to happen, you know, and I don't mean in a way of like a gut feeling. I just mean like, you know, you can actually foresee things very clearly. I haven't quite reached there yet. Be nice to one day, maybe. And you trust your intuition. Your intuition is much more reliable. And I think for me, my intuition since leaving India has been much more reliable. Everything that I've felt a sense of intuition about has been proven right. So I just kind of go with it, and I trust it much more. And the more I trust it, the more it doesn't let me down. So yeah, and that happens with more unclear, unblocking, not unclearing, unblocking. And also it's about being able to see your energy within, and also being able to see it beyond, and beyond the matter and form, you know. So being able to recognize what you have within you, and also the goodness in other people, and extending outwards, obviously. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we can think of the third eye chakra as is our command center.
That's a very good point. I like that. Command center. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. So we've talked about a lot of ways that we can balance the ajna, and I've got a list of some stuff here that we've also talked about in the past. And obviously every chakra has a different exercise, has a different meditation, has a different practice that relates to it within the fields of what I'm about to mention here. So we've got Kundalini yoga, meditation, and meditation is really powerful for the ajna because there's a lot of focusing. You can do meditations where you close your eyes and bring your gaze, especially in Kundalini yoga, we do this a lot. And when we chant Sata Nama, you're bringing your gaze to the third eye, closing the third eye, and bringing that attention to the third eye. Yeah, it can be quite strange to begin with, but it's very, very powerful. And when you turn that on, you'd be surprised how it makes you so intuitive. And I've developed my own form of intuitive eating because I do this meditation regularly. And it's almost like balancing, that I don't gain too much weight, but don't lose too much weight. It's kind of put me in that balancing place now. So I'm quite happy with that. And that's something I can share with you if you're interested, you know, so yeah. And then we've got Hatha yoga. Again, it's very good for realigning your structure, and sound bowling, which Jen will talk to you about later, and Reiki as well. Qigong, Chinese form of moving energy, and Tai Chi as well. Getting out in nature, very, very important. You can't, you know, overrate it. And if you spend more time in nature, it just grounds you, which overall takes care of everything. Unplugging from modern technology, so important. Spending more time being happy, present, laughing, dancing, singing, whatever you want to do to have fun. And especially now, you want to cheer yourself up, and make sure you give yourself hugs regularly, you know, spend time with animals, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Do things that make you happy and help you connect with your truest, weirdest self.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So over to sound bowl healing now.
Sound healing. So sometimes in meditations, it's said that the sound of bells, hearing bells or high-pitched noises, is an indication that you are clearing your third eye chakra. So in sound healing for this particular chakra, it has subtle and ethereal sounds, even bell sounds, high-pitched sounds, that help us discover unseen truths. And so before, Katrina was talking about, you know, when we're absorbing information from the world, our third eye helps us to kind of objectively view things, but also to read between the lines, basically. And so this is what we're talking about with the unseen truths, is that you're getting information, right? You have to take it for face value, and then you have to interpret it and digest it however it's going to serve you best. So I don't know if anyone has ever heard the saying like, oh, take whatever she says with a grain of salt or things like that. You should do that with everyone and everything.
Yeah.
Because how it's going to be meaningful to you may not be the same kind of meaningful to someone else. And so this is the unseen truth that you see and receive through here, not through, see our eyes or smell or taste or the other senses that we're familiar with, but rather the non-physical senses or that ethereal space. So meditation with sound can spark your imagination, right? Because this is where, we can really develop healthy thoughts, healthy habits. We can increase our level of perceptivity and perception around us and how to interpret those messages. And we can open ourselves to deeper and possibly more meaningful emotional responses to the world around us. Mm-hmm. And so in the lower chakras, we had previously discussed how it's important to be emotionally aware of how you're connecting with those around you. But this is where the emotional response comes in. And it can be related to emotional intelligence. You can respond with a knee-jerk reaction or possibly be rude or be harsh, or you can come from a higher place. And sometimes, even like I said before, doing nothing or saying nothing is still doing something, because even doing nothing has a consequence, like just being a face for someone or being a presence for someone. Exactly. Can be more powerful than even using your words. So for sound healing this month, I placed a YouTube link to heal the third eye chakra with Tibetan singing bowls. It's another 3-hour one. Like always, you don't have to do all 3 hours, or play it in the background, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you choose. Now with the sound healing is the self Reiki. And so for self Reiki this month, and we're going to focus on our little mantras that we say with our self Reiki. Of course, only the best energies are coming to me. This one in particular, I am a clear, open, receptive channel for the universal life energy. This is your third eye chakra. Mm. So when you say this mantra, you're focusing on this third eye chakra to receive psychic information or intuitive abilities to self-heal. And this is what Reiki practitioners use whenever they're performing energy healing on a person, is they really focus and channel through the third eye chakra. Some Reiki healers, they will receive messages sometimes, whether it's like through clairaudience, like they'll hear things, and it's not like hearing voices or things like that. It's kind of like intuitive messages that you're going to receive. It all depends on the person, the healer. Sometimes they may not receive anything, but the healing is still happening because they're channeling this perception and this energy through the third eye chakra. So this is where Reiki really hits home. And then of course, I am absolute. I perceive, I see. And we have 3 hand positions this week, and they're optional. You can pick one or do all 3, whatever works for you. So if you're lying down in a shavasana doing your meditation, it may be, you may prefer one or the other, but basically you're gonna stack one hand on top of the other behind the head. Mm-hmm. So you can even do this in bed. I do all my self Reiki in bed at night before I fall asleep. And sometimes I fall asleep while doing self Reiki. And that is completely fine, because there's no other peaceful, restful sleep than in the hands of the universal life energy and self-healing. So what a way to like end the day. But like laying in bed, relaxing, and then just right back here. Or you can do hands like this behind the head, same place. And it all depends on, what you feel like in your wrist. And then of course you can do hands over the eyes, leaving the third eye open. So just placing the hands over like this. And it's always important to have hands on. And it's yourself. So you know, you're more comfortable in an actual Reiki session where a Reiki master or healer is doing healing on you. They may hover their hands above the body part. And sometimes they will ask if they can physically place their hands on you. That's up to you. But when you're doing self Reiki, it's you. So, you know, do all the hand positions.
Yeah.
And of course, up until this point, we've done the chakras all the way up. So at night, you know, if you want to do self Reiki and fall asleep to it, you very well can do these self Reiki hand positions. You don't have to just do the one from this week. You can do them all.
All of them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And make it a regular practice. It's very nice, you know?
Yeah.
Good.
Wonderful. So yeah, so that's the sixth chakra. So next week we'll talk to you about Sahasra. Now that's really bringing it conceptual, a concept that is quite foreign to a lot of people. So yeah, we'll have a chat.
Even to me.
No, for me too. The crown chakra, that's not actually in our body anymore. We're talking about up here, you know, it's going up to the ether and beyond and up to the universe and stuff. So it's yeah, but it is still from within us. So, you know, it's worth talking about, and we'll talk about that next week. And meanwhile, have a lovely, lovely weekend. And don't forget that these videos will be published on the Facebook site, which is about recovering narcissistic abuse through chakra clearing. But also, I'm planning to put them up on YouTube, and I am uploading them onto YouTube. The only one I can't upload onto YouTube is the one on the root chakra, because we actually videoed that using the Facebook Messenger. So that still remains on our site. And because people have commented from our group, I can't make that public. I can only make that available to our site. So I'm afraid can't do anything about that one. But the rest of it, they'll be up there. So, you know, feel free to have a browse. I've actually uploaded all the ones up to, yeah, and the Ajna will go up there soon. Once I've uploaded the Ajna on the Facebook site, I'll do that as well. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for your time and help.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for watching us, and we'll see you next week. Namaste.